this is going to come across mean given the subject matter, but the summary for what I want to say is that we as black people or people of African descent, no matter where we exist in the diaspora, need to stop wanting to be white. So you can watch this and I'll come back and explain.
Nigeria is sweet when you have money. That's the most delusional statement you can ever make. Because no matter the money you have, you cannot escape Nigeria's infrastructural and systemic failures. No matter the money you have, you will still ply on those bad roads. No matter the money you have, it most likely will not be an ambulance or a first responder if you have an accident. Look at Anthony Joshua. I saw a clip of Anthony Joshua, one of his friends that just passed from the accident, and they were playing table tennis. It just made me teary-eyed. How will he explain that he went to Nigeria with his friends? One is his personal trainer, the other one is his coach. Nigeria is sweet when you have money. Guess who's been flown out of the country after the accident? Anthony Joshua. And there are Nigerians in my comment section saying I'm demarketing Nigeria. I need you guys to check this out. It's not even about the roads. Why is a trailer parked on a highway? In a sane society, that will not happen. The road the accident happened on does not have basic road signage. Federal Road Safety said they were overspeeding. I don't buy that nonsense narrative. What is the proof? The roads don't have speed cameras, so how do you manufacture that they were overspeeding? Where are the speed cams? There are barely speed cams on that road.
I don't want to minimize what he was saying, because he's lamenting the fact that lack of access to emergency services, emergency personnel, and, getting people help on time effectively caused why, these people died. And apparently they crashed into it seems to be a truck that was parked on a highway. And again, he's lamenting that because who else does that? Who parks, a semi on a highway in such a way that it can cause an accident, right? And I want to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, feel like we need to reimagine what life is like as people of African descent without European intervention. And what I mean by that is we're so used to how they have interpreted the world that we don't fully comprehend what we have to bring to culture, to society, and how we can reshape and reimagine our society and that actually suits us in a way that's better. It feels like, in relation to what that guy was talking about, where he was running around here talking about, oh, black people or African people don't have culture, they don't have a word for maintenance in any African language. And it's like he was upset because he was lamenting over the fact that there's so much that the colonialists have built that have been gone into disrepair because the African people have not upkept it. And for me, it's like, yeah, because it was never built for you. And it's everything on that continent, even after the colonialists left, has been influenced by them. It's been influenced by Europeans and how Europeans see the world. The trains, the roads, where your city centers are, all of it was designed to move them around easily, to move their armies around easily so that they can go and, destroy shit. It was designed to move goods and resources out of your country, and in many instances, people out of your country so they could put them on a boat and ship them off to God knows where, and you guys no longer see it again. A lot of what they built was about their comfort and their desires. It was not about the people who lived on those lands, and it was not about making those people comfortable or happy or to improve their lives. That is literally a very racist trope where they constantly complain about, oh, the continent or the African continent doesn't have this and it doesn't have that. And it's like, yeah, if you're looking at it from a very European white standpoint, no, it doesn't. But why should it? Why should the continent look anything like Europe when it's nothing like Europe? Right. So to highlight that, this is one of the comments that I saw earlier this morning. It says, in Nigeria, bystanders are the first responders, bystanders are transport, in many cases, bystanders are medical personnel. And they were saying that initially almost as if it was a negative, because in the way in which Europeans have structured their society, right? Because I live in America. If an accident happens, we have to wait till the most authoritative person shows up to tell everybody what to do. In many instances, a lot of people, and because of the litigious nature of European culture, many people do not involve themselves in certain things, even though they could help. Because if they do something wrong, then, they might get sued, right? It's that, and partly because a lot of us don't have the expertise, right? So we're just all kind of sitting around waiting until somebody shows up. That's why they're so hyper-focused on making sure that their first responders get to where they need to go. But that is a very European mindset. And it seems to me, when you look at the diaspora, the black diaspora, and, no matter where we live in the world, it seems that a lot of us have an overarching understanding that we are a more communally based culture. Doesn't matter whether you live in America, whether you live in England, China, whether you live on the continent proper, there seems to be this overarching idea, general, kind of in the zeitgeist, that we are much more communal in how we structure ourselves. And so to me, some people would see having bystanders be first responders as a negative thing. I don't think it's a negative thing. I think it's a positive thing. And instead of trying to make yourselves more like Europeans, where you get like, we need ambulance services and we need emergency personnel, instead of doing that, exactly like the people are saying in these comments, maybe the focus should be on how do we restructure our society in such a way that it actually makes sense for us, right? We already know they're extracting resources out of your country. We already know that A lot of people in African governments are basically just mini colonialists themselves, and they're there to do the bidding of Europe and France, England, America. They're not really there necessarily to actually help build the infrastructure of Nigeria or Ghana or a lot of these other places, right? So we already kind of have that understanding. And since we know that, then the primary focus of the community needs to be, we need to make sure that all of our children are as highly educated as possible in this respect, because we don't have certain services available. Right? Like in this instance, all of our children need to understand biology, chemistry. They need to have a general understanding of like how to aid other people, how to apply a tourniquet, right? How to deal with, snake bites, bug bites, serious car crashes, things of that nature. How to at least get a person stable enough so that when people arrive or when they are eventually transported by another person to the hospital, that they'll increase the odds of their survival. Lean into what your culture actually is, because you have a very positive thing where you have a lot of people who are literally willing to stop everything they're doing, get out of their cars, come out of their homes, and just run to the scene and go help these people, pull them out of cars, try to get them stabilized, transport them to hospitals. Why not lean into that as opposed to lamenting, oh, why can't we be more like the white people? You see what I'm saying? And this goes for everyone in the diaspora. We really need to stop trying to be poor imitations of Europeans, because one, we'll never be like them because we're not like them. And the other part of it is, even if we were to try to imitate them, they will never stand for it, right? They'll always find a way to criticize, to say, oh, well, you didn't do it this way, so it's not quite right, right? There seems to be this constant desire among so many of us to want to be white and to be like them, that we don't understand that we are indeed different from them, and that's okay. Our culture and our societies are different from them, and that's okay. We are definitely more communal in nature. Even in this fucked up capitalist system, there is more of an understanding of community amongst black people in this country than I think even amongst white people. Could it be better? Yes. But a lot of that means we have to deprogram ourselves from wanting to be like white people. We have to deprogram ourselves from being upset because our infrastructure isn't like their infrastructure. The infrastructure you have was never designed to be yours. I forgot, there was this guy, I can't remember which country he's from, but he's an African architect. Let me actually see if I can find him. I take it back. There's more than one. There's one in Burkina Faso, Diabeto Francis Kere, one in Nigeria, Tosin Oshinowo. This is a very French name, and I don't know how to do France. Cote d'Ivoire, Issa Diabate, Nzinga from Senegal, Nzinga Mbop. I apologize. I realize I probably butchered the fuck out of the names. My point is, there are multiple architects that are trying to rethink African architecture in a way that actually makes sense for the climate and the culture that they exist in, right? That's what needs to happen. You do not need to maintain the buildings that the Europeans built. If anything, you should probably destroy them and rebuild them in a way that actually makes sense to the culture and the people there. You don't have access to emergency services? Okay. You need to reimagine what it means, what emergency services means, right? It doesn't need to be, we need to wait for paramedics to come because these are people who are specialized and da-da-da-da-da. No, we need to focus ourselves on making sure that our communities are properly educated so that they can all be paramedics if needed. We need to undo the conditioning and the belief that we need to be anything like them to be successful.